what other stereotypes do you think like you've had to face?
So this ties into the next one, which is the emotional unavailability. Is that then I'm not an emotional person, but then I am, and then I'm not given the space to express that.
Okay.
With guys, it's more of the thing of like Korean men are really told to like chamo
Yeah, just hold it in.
and just like hold it in, but
Yeah.
then that can lead to like male normative alexithymia.
Oh
So,
God, don't use such big words. What does alexithymia mean?
so like the inability to properly understand your emotions and express them
Okay.
and identify them.
Yeah.
So male normative then being because men are forced to then chamo and hold everything in, then it kind of becomes a norm
Yeah.
for them. So that's like on the one side. And then on the other side for Korean women, it's almost kind of like, oh, if you're being a bit oversensitive, you're seen as weak.
Oh.
So
I think that's probably like even in African culture, don't you think? Or you don't think that is in Nigerian culture?
no, Nigerians are very theatrical.
I just imagine Nollywood actors.
Exactly what?
They're so dramatic.
They're so dramatic and so theatrical.
You know what? Never mind.
Do you know what happens? Do you know what happens when you do something to a Nigerian? They say it's not your fault. It is my fault. I let you do this to me.
Nigerians are so dramatic. Like, oh my God. That's why you guys make such great entertainment.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
dramatic.
so-
Okay, so never mind. It
Yeah,
doesn't count
no,
then.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you I have definitely never seen a Nigerian man just not speak their emotions.
Like what?
Yeah.
They'll tell you exactly. They'll tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah.
They'll tell you why it came from like your family's wrong. They'll tell you why your kids are gonna be wrong.
They'll tell you God sees this
God
too.
sees this.
Like everybody has seen what you did, bro. Dramatic. It's
So,
true.
yeah.
But yeah, okay. So in Korea, you feel like Korean women will see you as weak if you show emotion.
Oh, definitely. So yeah, that has happened. It happened literally just earlier this year.
Oh, how so?
So there was someone that I was kind of talking to,
Yeah.
and they, how can I say this?
Take your time.
I'm really big on like psychology and like attachment styles and how to, make your relationships be good. And they're more like the avoidant attachment style, and it like pulled away really suddenly, and that made me quite anxious. And I was like
Okay.
going through stuff at the time.
Yeah.
So I tried to express this to them, and that made them pull away even more. And then that kind of made them attack me. But then this is not like the first time that's happened.
Oh wow.
And obviously it's not like I'm not saying like, oh, this is Korean women's fault.
Just this one person. It happened.
I'm not even saying that's this one person's
Yeah.
fault, but it's just very much like in Korean society, I feel like you're not really allowed to open up about mental health. You're not really allowed to say you're going to a therapist or like a psychiatrist, or that you take medication. Like these aren't regular conversations. People aren't really sitting down and saying, hey, I had a traumatic childhood and this is how it's affecting me as an adult. So like all that conversation just doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
And so it creates a space where then people aren't really open when then somebody does come, because then I am quite open.
Right. You want to
with
talk about
what's
about
gonna
it.
happen to me, and then they're kind of like, oh, why are you sharing that? That's a weakness. So like I've heard people say this several times to me.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because even I think in Kenyan culture, it's the same, where men are, if you show too much emotion, you are seen as slightly weak. Not even slightly, you are seen as weak. It may be changing. Like, I appreciate an emotional man. I want you to tell me what's up, Like, I don't like when a man just shuts down and doesn't say anything. You know what I mean? So that's really sad to hear, because obviously I've never dated a Korean woman, so it's, I've never...
You've never tried it?
I don't want to try it. I'm okay. I'll just hear your experience, and I'll be very much okay with that. But I do think it's almost the same with Korean men in terms of they don't share either.
Yeah.
They hold a lot of stuff in, and when you start asking questions, they don't know how to answer the questions because they've never been asked those questions before.
I've definitely seen it with Korean guys. I've never dated a Korean man neither.
You don't want to try? Yeah.
No, not after the stories I've heard in Hongdae.
Facts. Facts.
I don't want to
Yeah.
be nobody's side piece.
Bro, everybody's side piece if you're dating a guy in Hongdae.
So shout out to any side pieces.
Hey, side chicks. Yeah.
What was I gonna say? No, definitely, I've seen it with Korean guys
Yeah.
as well because then when like Koreans in Korea are different from Koreans in the UK, and I don't mean like Koreans that have grown up in the UK. I mean like take a Korean person,
Yeah.
just pop them out of Korea, put them in the UK. They're completely different.
Very different, yeah.
And I've had like completely different conversations, and even I can feel it. Like me in the UK, very different from me
In Korea.
Korea,
Yeah.
there's just something that makes it feel so like tight
Intense.
and tense
Yeah.
at almost all times.
Yeah.
And it's like I've had conversations with my friends that I've met, and they do then start to open up, and then they do start to say, actually, yeah, I don't know how to answer this question, or like, actually, no, this was painful, or this actually, you know, this might be traumatizing. But then it takes like a little bit of like prodding and pushing. It's not just like off the top of their head, which I think is slightly different.
Yeah.
I would say for like African culture, in that while African culture is not also accepting of mental health, at least there's still a running joke where everyone is at least a bit self-aware of like being beaten or like
Yeah,
not
like,
having boyfriends.
we
or
know our
girlfriends. Like we
traumas.
know, like we can at least identify.
Yes.
them.
Yeah, especially the young generation. Like
Yeah.
we share our traumas. You're like, oh, you were beat too? I was also beat. It's like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 But then I haven't really seen a lot of people in Korea like really share that. The only thing that people say is just, oh, konde, or like overtime work.
Yeah.
That's kind of the two things.
It's very surface level
Yeah.
almost when they talk about it. I wonder why that is. I do have friends. I have like friends who do go to therapy, but the way that don't quote me on this, please, but I have friends who seek therapy, but when they go to therapy, they're just given medicine. Like the therapist, well, psychiatrist, I should say, the psychiatrist doesn't sit there and talk to them. They're just kind of like, okay, it sounds like you need this medicine.
Oh no, that has been my experience too.
Oh,
Like,
is it?
I think the person I'm seeing now is probably the best person I've seen since I've been in Korea.
Yeah.
And I've been to like six different hospitals.
6 is a lot. Okay.
And it's like spread around like Seoul and Incheon.
Yeah.
Because that's where I've lived.
Yeah.
And the person I'm with now, at least I can get like 15 minutes out of her, and she does ask questions. She's like really amazing. But other times it's literally just been, did you take your medication? You did. Okay, here's your next one.
That's my friend's experience.